Okay, beautiful souls. We're in for such an amazing treat. Kelly Adams, she's one of my favorite humans. I cannot wait. We were just laughing right before we even hit record. I cannot wait to just introduce her to you and for you to just get a taste for medicine. She is a seasoned entrepreneur, belief activator, hope dealer, and she's so passionate about supporting female entrepreneurs and business owners and really stepping into their deepest power, expanding into wealth. She is so supportive in mindset. She's known as the Mary Poppins of mindset, which is so like such a cute nickname. It's like so matches this ray of sunshine that she is. And so I'm just so grateful to bring her into the space for her to support in bringing some wealth energetics into the space, bringing in some mindset support for those that are really looking to expand and build their business. So Kelly, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to dig in with you.
Thanks for having me, Christina.
Of course. Yee. So when we think about this idea of, business meeting consciousness, because I know that's like so much of what you do, like building a business in alignment with your soul and really building a conscious business. What does that mean to you? And how has that helped transform people's businesses?
Yeah, well, I would say this is definitely like the level 3.0 of me and how I show up and do business. So it
Yes.
came from a place of trial and error.
Mhm.
But to be honest, what I found is a lot of what the world teaches is just the money piece. Money's great, but if you get to the top and that's all you have, like I love the quote that some people, all they have in this life is money.
Mm.
And there's so much more available. Money's great. I want you to be wildly wealthy. But if you can have a business that feels as good as it looks on paper, to me, that's even more important. And we have such a short time on this earth and in this world that I feel like it gets to feel good.
Mhm.
And so that's what it's about. It's about not doing it the way that someone else says you have to do it, but tapping into a way that feels good for you. I truly believe that you can make money doing anything you desire to do. So the money's available. So finding what feels good and inviting in as much play as possible. One of my favorite quotes is when you feel good, you play good, and when you play good, they pay good. So how
Mhm.
can you combine the joy that we had as people, as children, with business to actually have it be fun again? So
Oh,
that's I think
good.
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, please keep going. It's so good. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well,
Please.
I just think like it's about expanding your consciousness beyond what the world teaches. Like,
Yes.
I just feel like there's so much more available when we step out of the way and explore the other opportunities and possibilities versus being in the matrix. This is what you do, this is how you do it, and this is why you do it.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've been in both worlds where it's
Yeah.
like I was in the matrix for a long time. And I just kept thinking, even at 22, when I was first starting to work, I'm like, can I retire? This is not fun. That I'm like not enjoying this. Like, and I kept thinking if I climb the ladder high enough, if I make enough money, then someone else can do the tasks that I don't want to do and it doesn't feel good. And then I kept getting, climbing the ladder and being like, yeah, I'm still empty though. Like this doesn't feel good. And so that was where I started to really tap into like, well, what would feel fun? What would feel juicy? How could I expand into that? And then built it out as a passion project. It started as life coaching and then it's expanded into healing, right? And it's evolving as I evolve. But I will say there's such a difference between the way that I felt in almost like a previous version of me in the Matrix and the way that I feel now having fun. I do this job on the weekends for fun sometimes where it's like I just want to write or I want to create content or I want to build something new, and so it's like I never would have done that. In my past job, I would have been like, my laptop is closed. I'll talk to you at 9 a.m. on Monday, and now I'm like, let's go, So I'm curious when now we're speaking about like the difference between the feelings, like in your mind, what does it feel like, or how would you describe someone who's kind of living out of alignment? And then let's kind of tackle what it feels like to live in alignment. So kind of like unconsciously moving through life, maybe because we think about living your purpose. How would someone know like they're actually living it versus not? Like sometimes when we're not in our purpose, it actually feels a certain way. Like we feel almost like apathy or whatever that might be. Like, how would you describe that? Because I think sometimes people don't even recognize they're living out of alignment. How do you see that, in the women that you're coaching that maybe aren't totally in alignment or living their full purpose? what's some of the feelings that they come to you with?
Yeah. Okay, that was great. That was a lot of powerful questions. So just to address the first part of it,
I'm like, there's 12 questions.
I know
Answer
there was like,
in
which
sequential
one do
order. You're like, whoa.
I was like, no, in all honesty, just to slow that down a little bit, even to back it up a little bit more, I don't think the average person knows the difference between calm and chaos. We are so conditioned to be in the chaos that another way feels foreign, another way feels uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So, and if you're a high achieving woman, which is what the majority of the women I personally work with are, is like you we feel safer with the devil within than the unknown. So we'd rather keep going because that's what we know and that's what's comfortable.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where it's like this is a thought that a lot of the women have when they're coming. Is this as good as it gets?
I
And
remember.
it's like, you have all of the things, you have all of the stuff, but it's like it's this yearning and this knowingness and this like void within. And and so that would be the first thing I would say is one, the goal would be to feel safe slowing down and not even to make a career change or a big bold move in the first place, but to start to notice the difference between being and doing. We're
Mm,
always doing that. There's not very much being. So until you go into the being, you can't feel the difference between the calm and the chaos. So that's where I start with a lot of the work is just getting them to slow down because most women don't feel safe slowing down because when you slow down, the ego, the inner critic, the little voices speed up.
mm. That is so accurate. Uh, I remember even when I was in corporate, I would have like winter breaks, right? Christmas breaks, Thanksgiving, whatever it was. And it was like I'd go, 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 go. I'm like, okay, I can keep this pace. Let's go, go, go. And then Christmas happens, and I'm like, why am I crying every day? Like, why am I so angry today? Like, it's Christmas. What is my deal? And it's like, whoa, because I just paused to feel everything for the first time in 3 months or 6 months or a year, And so that totally resonates with me about like, if we could get calm now,
Yeah.
that's how we start to recognize like who we are and what we actually want
Yeah.
versus like if I'm just busy doing what everyone else is telling me to do, I have no idea where I fall in that line of order, right? Like what I actually desire to do because I just have stomping orders, It's like got to just do this, check that, do that. And versus like actually pausing to reflect and say like, do I want to do that? Is
Right.
what if I just paused for a minute and started thinking in possibility? What would be fun? That's kind of how my journey started was like, I just took a quiz that was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to answer like 100 questions and I'm just going to see what it says I'd be good at. And then I looked at them and I'm like, which one feels fun and which one feels like safe enough that I could possibly do it. Like there were some on there that I was like, absolutely not. I wouldn't even know where to begin. And then there was others on there where I was like, life coach. I could start there, but there were some where I was like, but now I'm doing those other ones. Like it was like minister. It's like I just ordained a wedding, and it's like, what, that one I'm like, no, there's no way. Or, singer. And now I'm singing and like in my business, it's part of like the activations that I do and stuff. And so some of the healing that I do. So it's just so interesting how like you were saying, take it one step at a time, pause, take a minute to take a step away from that chaos and just land in the space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Beautiful.
I mean, I just feel like over and over again, it's like when I'm introducing a woman to calm,
Mhm.
it's like they tense up, they freeze. It's so unfamiliar. It's such an unknown space. And most of us, especially if you are a woman, high achieving woman, you're operating in the black or white. The
Mhm.
gray space is the unknown, what's not safe. And so when you're tapping into calm, essentially you're tapping into the unknown, which doesn't feel safe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's so interesting. So, how would a woman know? How would you describe that feeling of being in alignment and being in your purpose? Like, because that's a different feeling of like the kind of that would you call them calm? Would you say like what else would you kind of describe? Because I think sometimes having a compass helps people really gauge like, am I living in alignment or am I not? And then that's like kind of helps us better understand which direction to keep going in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what you're asking is, what are some other surefire ways you would know that you're actually in alignment?
Yeah,
Or
like is there a feeling from some of the women you talk to? Like you take them from this chaotic space, you calm them down, you get them into alignment through the mindset work. What are some of the things that they say or some of the feelings that you can kind of tell like, oh, this girl's tapped in. This woman is
yeah.
like in her power.
Well, number one is awareness. They're aware. They're aware of their triggers. They're aware of their behaviors now. They're aware of their patterns. So it's like we can't clear what we can't see, and you can't solve a
Mhm.
problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So you have to really go down and do the work to, well, my framework I use is release, reset, rewire. So
Yeah.
I'm actually going down each week and inviting in a new, more better way of thinking and feeling after we've already done the work to address their triggers and address the areas that make them not feel safe. One of
Mhm.
the biggest things though is when they can manage their emotions. I feel like my goal is to help women become what I call emotional regulating machines, because we're just emotional by nature.
Mhm.
And I personally feel like as little people, we didn't really learn, or at least I didn't learn, a lot of the women I've worked with didn't learn how to properly process their emotions.
Mhm.
And it's like push it down, move on. It's not safe to feel. So if it doesn't feel safe to feel, then it also doesn't feel safe if someone says no to you in the DMs. It also doesn't feel
Mhm.
safe if you get on a call and someone says no to the opportunity. So I think it's easier to say where they're at when they're in alignment, because most people are burnt out and frustrated by the time they come to me, to be completely honest.
Wow.
So it's like they're already at rock bottom. But I
Mhm.
think it's a lighter feeling. If you think
Mhm.
about carrying around like a sack of potatoes,
Mhm.
anybody can do that for like 5 minutes, even an hour. But imagine the compound interest of holding on to the stories
Yes.
year after year after year that you've been holding on to. So to me, it's a lighter feeling. Every
Yeah.
week you should be feeling lighter and lighter. You should feel more at peace. And this is a peace that's regardless of what's happening in your exterior world. It's an inner peace that nobody can take away. Because I love to say, like, I get what I want what I get, but I'm good. So
Mhm.
it's like always like striving for more, going on to the next, but also complete peace with where I'm at right now. So
Mhm.
I think like the women, there's peace, there's awareness, there's safety, regardless of their circumstances, where a lot of us put our safety in money or things, or when I sign the next client, then I'll feel safe. And it's like, how can you elicit that feeling of safety now, regardless? So they feel safe, they feel secure, they're aware, they're awake, they're consciously aware, and they know how to navigate their emotions.
Mhm.
And to me,
So,
they're in alignment because they're doing
yes.
all of the things to be proactively in their highest at all times.
Absolutely. So what I love too is how you kind of peeled back the layers of emotional regulation too, because I think, for me, a past version of me would think emotional regulation means to not feel your feelings, regulate them,
Mhm.
keep them small, when it's actually like the opposite. Like the way, and I love to hear kind of your take on this too, but the way I see it is it's like, and one of my mentors talks about this too, Stephen Jaggers, he talks about like sometimes with our stress, we're at like 99%. Like if you think about like a computer operating system, like we're at 99%, we have like the one thing that takes us over the edge.
Yeah.
The goal is to actually like release it now. Start to understand like your triggers from before, proactively start to release some of the stuff that's been you've been holding on to from childhood that you haven't let yourself feel, so that it brings you down to 60 or it brings you down to 40. So when the big thing happens, like you get a no in the DMs or you get a no on the call, or something else happens with family, it doesn't take you over an edge. You have the spaciousness to process it out. So would you say that's kind of like similar to what you would call emotional regulation? Like, and I'm curious if that's how you would describe it.
Yeah, so I like to get to the root of the resistance. So I think that
Mhm.
like our body is a book of stories, and a lot of the stories are held in our subconscious that keep us safe.
Yeah.
How we grew up 0 to 7 is pretty formidable. Well, things we hear from authority figures.
Mhm.
So all of that is imprinting aligned with trauma and everything. So when women begin to actually allow themselves to feel that stuff for the first time, emotion actually has a chemical response of about 90 seconds to go up and through your body. It's like a wave that comes up. It's like an adrenaline rush. So how can you transfer that adrenaline to something that is going to serve you versus against you? But the number one thing I like to teach women to do is starve the beast. If
Mm,
you could think of, so the things that we have a limited amount of energy every day, like a finite amount. So I want you to be using it on opportunity, not fear.
mm,
But if you think about those things, and money is just so easy to talk about because it really holds a lot of power over people.
mhm,
So if you are struggling with your bank account, and everybody has this magic thermostat number, and if it goes below that number, you begin to feel that anxiety come in. So when you feel that come in, or when you're thinking about your bank account all the time, you're feeding the beast.
mhm,
You're feeding the beast. Imagine this ugly wild creature. And every time you're sitting in that fear, boom, you're just feeding it pellets of food.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
the best way to alchemize it and neutralize it is to starve the beast. How do you starve the beast? You go into stillness within yourself. So
Mhm,
it's like I feel anxious. I feel scared right now, but I choose to feel this way because it's a choice on how what we make things mean. You
mhm.
never see a dollar bill walking around. I'm so happy. I'm so sad. It's just the meaning that we give it. So it's
Yes.
a choice what we're making these things mean. So it's like, how can you feel the fear, but then transfer it into stillness and begin to starve the beast? So if you starve the beast, you're sitting with your body.
Mm,
It's almost like stepping outside and seeing this thing outside of you and then seeing the I am, the being, the oneness. And it's like, okay, so this is me. This is what I'm feeling. But instead of putting all my energy here now, I'm going to just be. Okay, I'm going to focus on my breath. Is it shallow? Is it deep? I'm going to focus on the sensations in my body. I'm going to begin to, instead of giving that my energy, I'm going to redirect it onto me and know that's a feeling and let it pass just like we would like a cloud in the sky. You know
mm,
what I mean? And then that's like one small move that you begin to do to manage your emotions, because otherwise they're driving you all day long. So I
mm,
really, really, really work hard with women to transfer moving facts versus feelings, because feelings are transient, feelings are always changing. So if there's no data, if there's no facts to back up that you're actually not safe, that you have a roof over your head and bills, you can pay your bills, then it doesn't deserve your attention because where we put our attention grows, good or bad. So
yes.
it's like, stop feeding the beast. That's the best way to explain it, and starve it by going within.
So good. So, as the Mary Poppins of mindset, I feel like we got a little peek into what that looks like, which is amazing. And so I'm curious, what does a wealthy mindset what does it look like? So if you could describe like a wealthy mindset, because I love this idea of like an alter ego. Sometimes we can try it on, like those feelings. How would you describe a wealthy mindset?
I always have women practice this through what I call an embodied sexy girl walk.
Hmm.
And so to have a visual or a totem or a representation, because the body feels, the mind follows. So if you want to be wealthy, first, what does wealthy feel like? It's a feeling. So
Hmm.
if you are this next level, I use alter, you know that about me. I use alter
Yes.
egos and all the things. So it's like, this is a really quick, easy 6-minute activity. I do it every day myself still. I use my sunglasses because to me, that's my totem. It was like, it could be lipstick, it could be lip gloss, it could be a pair of heels you put on, but something that exudes that next level energy because your body taps into that feeling. That's why back in the day, I would go to all these fancy hotels and things I couldn't afford because I would just go and just immerse myself in that energy and that feeling. And then I would take that feeling and that vibration with me into my day to day.
Mm,
So like a sexy girl walk is, how does she feel? How does she act? How does she show up? And I notice, like, even when I do it, all of a sudden my shoulders go back, my toes are more pointed when I'm walking. I
mhm.
slow down, like, and I put my sunglasses on because I don't want anybody to know who I am. Like fun for
Mhm.
fun, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
famous version.
Yes.
And
Yeah. The
so
paparazzi, you got to keep them to the side.
so for me, it's like a wealth mindset starts with a feeling and a vibration, and it's an inner it's an inner change that exudes to your outer physical world. But beyond that, I am still a good businesswoman. So you still have to compare work with, you have to align strategy with consciousness to be like the big kahuna.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, like it's like not focusing on, like, for me, I never look at my bank account. I never look at my bank account. I'm always like opportunity focused.
Mm-hmm.
Who can I serve? Who can I help? What can I put out into the world? I personally feel like money is the energetic exchange of the value we put into the world. So I'm always focusing on what can I do versus what do I have? So I
Mm-hmm.
think a fear-based mindset is like lack, and you're looking at what you have and you're just there. Whereas a wealth mindset is opportunity, and it's a high feeling. Anything that's a low serving vibration, a low feeling, is fear based. That's of the ego. That's not of us. So I really prime my mind with gratitude. I just actually talked about this morning. I call it the power hour, 30 minutes before bed.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes when you wake up in the morning, because that's when your mind goes the closest to a meditative state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the time when you really want to focus on dreaming bigger. What's your next goal? Whether it's meditation, whether it's affirmations, whether it's a visualization, that is a sweet spot to really hone in, to tap into like that wealth mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, I always talk about, like, just like as humans, we are physically dehydrated. We're also emotionally dehydrated.
Ooh.
So the very first feeling we give ourselves in the morning is what we vibrate from. So for me, it's gratitude. I'm enlarging something else, and it automatically minimizes what I'm thinking, feeling, or going through. Because most of us lay our head on the pillow at night and it's like, I should have done this. I should have done this. I should have done this. Start looking for 3 things you did well instead of should-have-ing yourself to death. It's
So
those
true.
small tweaks like that that make a big difference. And I think gratitude is a game changer for a wealth mindset.
So true. I mean, even wow, there was just so much goodness there because it's like tactical. You can take it, you can move with it, you know. Speaking into, so I love this spiritual mindset. And you were speaking about how it really does go in tandem with some of the strategic things you do as a businesswoman as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do strategically? So we've really covered that consciousness, the mindset, the throw on the sunglasses, flip off the paparazzi, right? And like tapping into now the strategy. What are some of the business strategies that you use to help grow your business? I think you talked a little bit about like always be in service. Like who are
Yeah.
the next person I can serve? What are some things kind of like along those lines that you do strategically that help to grow your business as well?
Yeah. So to me, I have a rule in my head, like, what can I do that is going to create income or impact in the next 24 hours? So that's just like
Mm-hmm.
a question that I'm constantly working. So for me, first and foremost, my clients get me first in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And for 2 reasons. One, they've already chose to invest in themselves. And 2, from a business standpoint, it's always easier to keep a client happy than to obtain a new client. So
Mm-hmm.
always pouring into them. So, that's looking like checking in on them to make sure they are good to go, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's a Voxer, whether it's an email, whether I'm just loving on their Instagram post, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
So once I know they're good, then I do have specific social media that is like goes out on certain dates that are like pre-done. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, it comes down to service. I always use, like, I don't do this as much now, but it's something I still teach her of every single day with my clients, is a chart of 100. Chart of
Mm-hmm.
100. So it's like basically you're getting 100 out, because if we focus on serving versus sales, the sales take care of themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
I like the women to get 100 touch points throughout the month. So
Mm-hmm.
that basically breaks down to 5, 7 a day if you're going Monday through Friday. You know what I mean? Do the math
Yeah.
on your own. And
Yeah.
literally, then every time it's like a post goes up or an email goes out, something that you're pouring in, that's
Mm-hmm.
like a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fun way, because I love playing games with stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a fun way to, even if you're terrible in sales and you're having 100 touch points, you should still be able to sign 5 clients in a month.
Mhm.
So how can you trick the mind, especially because a lot of people come with these stories that selling is sleazy and because they've been sold to. So all of these stories. So how can you reframe it to think of business as fun? So to me, it's about making sure that you have outbound and inbound lead nurturing. So you
Mhm.
always have to be having value out there that draws people in. And then once they're in, then you're expediting that like, know, and trust. So to me, it's basics. I like to keep business basic. I'll have an email that goes out. I'll have social media that is scheduled 3 days a week. And then I have fun 2 days a week.
Mhm.
And then I have free and paid communities. I run
Mhm.
like a speed networking group. And then I am, because I do also show up as companies hire me to be the fractional COO of their company. So
Mhm.
then that's like my LinkedIn side of life, which is a little bit differently than the IG side of life.
Mhm.
So I'm nurturing that slightly different than I'm nurturing like IG. But I think consistency trumps everything,
Yeah.
because if you're consistent and you're doing 10 things 1% better every single day than trying to do one thing 90% better and feeling frustrated, to me,
Mhm.
business is one big science experiment. I just
Mhm.
spent time yesterday with a client. I'm like, okay, so let's split test this week. You did your email this way last week. Let's do it this way this week. Let's see where it gets the most opens and then let's refine. I think
Mhm.
people are scared to like play around and switch things up. But if you look at it as like a big video game, I love the game Tetris, like back in the
Yes.
day. You're
Yes.
just like moving the pieces around. So, I mean, everyone's business is slightly different, but I do think you need to have key income producing activities, because I say this all the time. McDonald's has been in business since 1955. What does McDonald's still do well every single day? Sell hamburgers. You could be the
Mhm.
best coach, entrepreneur, service provider in the world, but if you're not outselling yourself, you're out of business.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of, um, I mean, you get to rest to receive, but you also have to show up to receive.
Absolutely. Oh, so good. Ah, I love it. Do you have a specific launch strategy that you typically do, like masterclass leads into, the offer that leads into, do you have anything like that? Or is it more like, it's feeling juicy to lean in this way and it's feeling juicy to lean in? Do you kind of let your energy lead, or do you like have like planned launch strategies?
I mean, I can answer that twofold, because how I show up is a little bit differently than how I have my clients show up.
Mhm.
Everyone's wired a little bit differently. For those
Yeah.
who love to go live, for
Yeah.
me, I'm getting ready to launch a mastermind. Live is my jam. So
Yes.
it's like I'll be going live a lot over this next month. So for
Love it.
me, where I'm at in my business, it's a lot. It doesn't have an exact way, because of
Mhm.
how I choose to call people in is through my
Yeah.
energy a lot of the times.
Yes.
My clients, depending on how they're wired, and what they desire to do. So it
Mhm.
is 100% custom, because if you're someone that wants a checklist every single day and what you should do, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm going to say you need a good lead magnet, and
Mhm.
then you're warming them up via email.
Mhm.
And then you're also doing a combination of social post.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, I feel like I can't give an exact concrete answer. If you were to tell me what you want to make, we're going to reverse engineer that by the amount of people and then plan accordingly. But see, this is the thing, because back in the day when I joined a mastermind, when I was transitioning from when we sold our company, I was
Mhm.
taught one way to do things.
Right.
And I wasn't having success in that one way. I was left feeling with, what's wrong with me? Like,
Mhm.
what am I doing wrong? It wasn't that I was doing anything wrong, but that's just not how I am meant to show up in the world.
Right.
That's not. So I'm really about, what do you want? What feels good? And then we match the revenue to that.
That's, oh, yes, everything about that. That was like, you were like, well, it's not specific. I'm like, that's like the perfect answer though, because I feel like it really is like on an individual basis.
Yeah.
I always give this example. I'm like, just because your coach is like a night owl and they're taking all their calls at night and making 7, 8 figures doing that, doesn't mean that's the only way to make 7, 8 figures. So if you're taking calls at 8 p.m. and you're like a morning person and you're like, why does this feel so heavy? It's because that's not your business strategy. So to your point, like follow what lights you up, like going live feels good for you. So of course people buy based on energy. They're going to tune into the live and be like, she's in her element. Like there's something like the vitality in her. I want to work with her versus like if you were like, oh, I hate copywriting and every post is a copywritten post, people are going to be like, well, I feel like a low vibration from this post, like I don't think I want to invest in the space. So it really is about the energetics of like the spaces that we're playing in and how we show up in those spaces. That has someone invest, that has someone lean in because they're like, it's like something about this excites me. It's like you walk into a room and you're like, there's the magnet energy versus there's the person where you're like, I do not want to go over there. We sense that, we walk into rooms all the time where we're like, there's like someone who's pulling me in that I'm just like, oh, I want to play with her versus like the person over there in the corner where you're like, I do not want to go there. So powerful. I love that example.
I do feel like your energy is your business card.
It is.
And it reminds me of like you can't, you can't do what your coaches tell you to do to an extent,
Yes.
Because it's like building a cake without like the egg or the butter,
Right.
And as a good coach, I personally feel like coaches are guides, not the end all be all. And I tell that to my clients all the time. Take what you like and leave what you don't. It's your business. I'm here to guide you and help you find your own answers, your own seeking, your own truth, So I just really believe in freedom.
Yes. I believe in freedom too. Let's go. Oh my gosh. So dialing it back to, you were just talking about the business that you sold. And so dialing it back to that time where you sold the business and you kind of felt like in that moment in time, this past version of you were like, ooh, the validation, the money, it left. Like, so how was that actually something that expanded you more deeply into your why and into your next move? Share with us more about that.
Yeah. So it kind of started, I was actually, we started our company in 2006 and then we sold it in 2018. We bought another company along the way. So then we sold both in 2018. But I was burnout. So that's what kind of started it. So I was suffering with health issues, and everybody said I was fine and I wasn't fine. But long story short, I remember when we sold our business, the best way to explain it is soul tired. It's a tired you can't explain. It's not like a physical tired. It is like a soul heavy, carrying a 500-pound gorilla on you tired. And I remember thinking, holy cow, like I should be so happy. I have more money than I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm anxious, worried, stressed, and felt broken. Honestly, I just got goosebumps speaking into this part again. So every night I'd go to lay my head on the pillow at night and I would literally have that same thought. Is this as good as it gets? I'm like, man, I had the house, the white picket fence, going by 2 cars one day, like 2.5 kids, but we had 3, you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
Like everything that is like on paper, the American dream. And I was still not happy. And so then I went on a soul wrenching journey. I think it was here for 5 years. It was a long journey. And it was a journey of unbecoming. It was a journey of, I jokingly say, I love this to this day, but I like women to be a naked, raw baby chicken. Peel back all the things and just you're there and you're raw in your skin and just like take it or leave it, baby. So I did that. I began to do an unraveling journey and to getting back to my truth. Who am I without ACE? Who am I without the validation? Who am I when the money stopped? And so it was a journey. And it was in that journey, I also heard a calling that was my mission, to help women show up. And man, these goosebumps are popping. To help women show up with balance and bank without the burnout. And that my legacy and my work was going to be able to show them that there is a better way, an easier way. And it's a way that I honestly never even thought was possible. Like came from a small town, came from a mentality that you have to work hard. I just had regular parents. Mom was a teacher. And so like I never experienced that more than enough, and it can look different. I went to school to be a teacher because everybody was a teacher. I just had never had other things shown to me. One of my spiritual teachers back in the day really opened my eyes to a lot of things and got me to start to think different. So it was a combination of that type of work with my own unraveling journey to bring women home to who they are and whose they are, and then build the business from the ground up the right way. So that's what I do. And I mean, thank God, because I mean, I feel like that there's not one part of me that doesn't feel fulfilled now. And I
Mhm.
know it probably sounds crazy, but it's like, I feel like this is what little girl dreams are made of. Like when people used to dream, I never dreamed about my wedding and all that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, husband. I never dreamed about all that.
Yeah.
I dreamed about this
Yeah.
life. Like often I'll have like these deja vu moments, like I'm at my desk, I'm playing off it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like, I did that before. And I'm like literally living my little girl dream now, that literally felt like a dream, but it like literally is that good.
Yes.
I wouldn't change anything right now. And to me, that's a rich life. Rich beyond the money. It's rich in relationships. You know, I like women to be a public and private success. That's a big part of my story,
Hmm.
because on paper stuff looked great, but behind the scenes life was hard. I was burning out. I was going through a lot with my children and my husband and all of these other things, and the business at one point in time was probably what was holding us together.
Hmm.
So I knew there had to be a way that women got to have both, that their
Yes.
business gets to look as good and feel as good as it looks on paper. And so that's what it's about now. You're gonna
Oh,
get me all hyped, because that is
I
like
love
the
it.
dream.
Yes.
That's the dream.
Yeah. Wow. So the little girl dream, like I just think about that. And as you were speaking, I was getting goosebumps because I'm like, I'm doing that right now too. Like
Yeah.
there was like, I thought I was building towards that and I was checking all those boxes and I ended up at the spot and I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel like the little girl dream. And now you're so right. Like it really does feel like that dream where I think about what lit me up when I was little. Like I wasn't dreaming about my wedding either. I was dreaming about like my career and like being on Oprah and like, you know what I mean? Like being on stage and having a microphone and like all the things that I'm like, well, damn, I'm like on a stage right now with a microphone, and it's like, whoa, like this is so activating and it's so much fun. And it's like to let that little girl version of you like have this moment. I mean, it's not just for us, it's for her. Like to have for her to show up and be like, I get to do this for a living every day. Like, what's that about? And so like do it not just for yourself, but for that little girl version that is like, please self-actualize. Like, please let yourself fully self-actualize.
Mhm.
Like we know when we're not doing that. We know in our mind's eye when we see that vision of ourselves on the bigger stages or doing that thing that's scary, but also really exciting. We're
Right.
meant to follow that. Like we're meant to lean in and to really follow that. And in the process, heal everything that's in the way. Heal regulate our nervous system as we're leaning into the next edge,
Yeah.
which is why these both work in tandem in like this beautiful dance of like, I'm going beyond my edges. I see beyond it, but like I got to break the wall down a little bit to get to the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
powerful. Oh, I love it so much.
And how you just talked about the healing aspect, I believe healed people heal people. So the
Mm,
beautiful part of doing this kind of work, managing your emotions, calming your nervous system, is everybody around you benefits. So
yes.
really, this is what is like super sexy, is the ripple effect. You
Yes.
know, I get to sit and work with one person or a group of people, then I never even get to see the hundreds of tens of thousands of people that they've impacted. So
Mhm.
that is like, if you would be in an airplane and look down at night and see all the lights, like, I don't know,
Yes.
let's just say you're in New York or something.
Yes.
That's that vision that I felt. Oh, I didn't know I was going to get emotional. That's that
Mm.
vision I felt 6 years ago that I still feel to this day, like looking down and how can I give one little piece of my light to somebody else? And then like you look down and there's hundreds of thousands of lights that are all lighting up because one person chose to heal. One person chose to do the work. And that vision is what is like keeps me in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's so beautiful. Man, I'm telling you, It's so true. When we choose into our light, the thing that lights us up, and when we choose into that and pour into other people by just sometimes we don't have to be healers to even do that. We can just
Yeah.
embody our own light. That's enough to touch another person's light and activate theirs to be like, well, wait a minute. She's living her purpose right now. Like, and like making money doing it. Like, well, hold on. I want to do that, and it plants seeds and it starts to have people be like, well, she's so happy. Like she's so fulfilled. Like there's something about her energy. Like I want to activate my own. That's
Yeah.
enough to pour into another person to activate the light within them. Exactly as you were saying. And then especially for those healers that are like, I am actively doing this all day long in my career and seeing people light up and seeing what they do with it. You're so right. It's like, what a gift to be like, I don't know where this will take you, but like, I'm so grateful to see you light up and to know that every person you pour into, every person you touch now is going to be more lit up because of that. Like, what a gift that is to be like, this is a career that we get to just turn our light on and support other people in doing that too.
Yeah. It's so good.
Oh man. I remember when we were actually chatting once, and I remember being like, I'm having this vision of like healing people with my hands. And this is when I was I was life coaching. So I was just kind of talking with people, like guiding them into asking them powerful questions. And I remember talking and being like, I just see myself on stage, like healing people with my hands. And you're like, well, my hair is sticking up on my arm. Like, oh my God, there's something here. The body chills. And I ended up having this like crazy breathwork experience where I would remember being like, I want to heal people with my hands like Jesus. Like that's what was coming through. And I had this breathwork session, and it's like all of a sudden I'm experiencing this like wild experience where Jesus is coming in and activating my healing hands. And it's like fully incapacitated me for like 30 minutes after this breathwork session. I'm like, what just happened? And I felt my energy in my hands expand. And now the fact that I can use my hands and heal people like both virtually, but in person too. And it's just like, we get these wild visions for a reason. Like there's nothing that's too crazy. Like if we can dream it, if we can fully like feel it in our body, like it can happen. It might not happen the way that we think it will, but like I couldn't have guessed that in this breathwork session, I'm just breathing and all of a sudden Jesus is like, tap, tap, let's go. I never would have guessed that, but it was like the fact that it happened and it felt so like all consuming. And then I felt the energy in my body like show up differently in every one of my sessions moving forward. And it's like, that's light activating. That like when I was choosing into a healing session and I received more light, and now it's moving through me, and now each of my clients get to receive that too, and all the people that I'm connected to, it's just like what a gift this life is when we just like let ourselves be open to miracles. Like do you feel like you live your life in that way too, where you're like, I
Yeah.
wonder what miracle is going to happen today? Like let me be someone's miracle today. It's so
Yeah.
wild and so beautiful to think about.
Literally, like I'm always like when particular people come into my world, I'm like, oh, of course, this is divine timing, and I'm supposed to help you in this season. Because I'm always praying, like, God, show me the people that I need, that need me, that I can help, that are like the big movers and shakers out there that are gonna go do bigger stuff. And I'm just one stepping stone to give people the launch pad to fly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I mean, I think like it's all very purposeful.
Oh, and Kelly, for you guys that are tuning in, was one of my huge propellers in like me really activating myself. I remember I was going through a huge like up level, which through that process, it was like all of a sudden everything else started crumbling away. And it was like, but wait, I was trying to grasp, and I was so depressed and I was so sad. It was like relationships and career and everything just stumbling, like falling. And the raw baby chicken. That's what you got me as. I was like crying and sobbing and just freaking out and in Voxer every day, like help, like SOS. And like, thank God you held that safe space for me to unravel, because it's like, it doesn't feel great in the moment when we're unraveling. But if you can find a safe space to like, let yourself be seen in that. I mean, me on the other side, it was like the Phoenix rising, baby. I was like, let's go,
Baby.
Exactly.
Like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And now I'm like, I was going through my closet the other day and I'm looking at my clothes and I'm like, wow, there's so many different versions of me in here. It feels like a totally like a past life that's happening in here, like, wow. And I just took a minute to just really acknowledge how far I've come, just looking at the old versions of me, our clothes will do that. Our circumstances will fall away, and then other things might fall away too. And it's like, I'm just so grateful for you, Kelly, for everything that you've done for me, for the collective, for yourself, for your family. You're just like such a ray of sunshine. And I am positive that everyone who's tuning in is like, I need more Kelly. So where can they get more of you? Like, where are you hanging out? How can they connect with you?
Yeah. So over on IG, I'm Kelly Adams Coaching, or my website is kellyadamscoach.com.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Kelly, thank you so much for your light,
Yeah.
for your wisdom. This was absolutely incredible.
It was like a full circle moment. I was looking forward to our call, just seeing you shine and your brilliance and the big impact you're having in the world. It makes everything worth it. Yeah.
Doesn't it? That's the best. It's the absolute best. So, everyone who's tuning in, feel free to take a screenshot, tag both of us. My handle is I am Christina Deering on Instagram. Tag us, tag us. We love knowing what you create, or we love knowing what we're creating, what resonates with you. It makes us create more of that. Like I love knowing what's resonating with people. So, feel free to tag us. We would be so grateful to hear from you, and just sending you guys so much light and love. Follow your truth, follow what lights you up, follow the fun, as Kelly said, and just sending you guys so much light and love. And until next time.